So, something I wanted to talk about for a while, but couldn't articulate that well, and probably still can't, is how much I hate people minimizing valid concerns just because they don't want to put in the effort to address them. But also the dismissal and gaslighting and imposed lack of autonomy that comes with that. Case in point, my recent video about my dad stubbornly continuing to drive after a stroke, brushing off what a danger that is to everyone involved him, my mother, pedestrians, other drivers. I brought up that lack of safety and how he just brushed it off as driving being something that he's done so many times before. There's nothing he's willing to accept that will make this time different, even though half of his body is numb. And it bothers me so greatly because my mom is still getting in the car with him. She barely felt safe with him driving before that, so you'd hope, this new factor would cut out the occurrence altogether. But no. And why? Because my dad's the kind of guy who will make the choice to get in the car with him the lesser of two evils. He's not going to stop driving either way. If she refuses to get in the car with him to do errands, it's ineffectual. He's going to go there anyway, whether she's present or not. It doesn't get him off of the road. It just makes the time and effort that she'd have to take to do things to walk everywhere even more laborious. But mostly, if you try to say no, his response isn't to accept that in any capacity. It's to peer pressure, to gaslight, to try and convince you that it's fine. Why are you making such a big deal about it? It's not just that he's minimizing valid concerns, he's taking away other people's ability to make choices for themselves. At one point last year or whatever, I was over at their house, my childhood home. My partner, Z, was out of town for something and wouldn't be able to make it to come pick me up until after it had gotten dark out. So, when it got close to dinner time, which is the designated time to leave, my dad offered to take me home instead. And I said no, I'd wait. They didn't have to feed me if they didn't want to. They didn't even have to entertain me. I'd just sit in my old room and take a nap or something. My dad had had a couple beers, and I didn't want to get in the car with him driving. He dismissed me, saying that he didn't feel anything from them. And he is a big guy. He probably didn't feel buzzed, but that's not the point. I'd said no. I was uncomfortable. It made me feel unsafe. But what does he do? He puts on his jacket, tells me, "Come on," starts the car, and then he just goes and fucking sits in it so that we're in a weird stalemate. And then it becomes a question of what's easier. If I don't cave and go with him, it's super awkward that he's going to have to come back inside and tell me I'm being unreasonable, and we're going to have to sit in that for however many more hours until my real ride shows up. And so I did cave, because the fallout always seems worse to deal with, like he probably would never drop it again that I refused to get in a car with him. But why is it always like that? Why aren't I allowed to choose something else? Like, part of me considered just leaving, like walking somewhere else, hanging out in a store. I could have, technically, physically, but I didn't feel like I could. Choosing to enforce my autonomy over acquiescing isn't just going to be seen as the more dramatic response, but it was also guaranteeing strained relations over the subject from that point forward. Remember that time that you chose to spend hours wandering around town than just get in the car with me? And it'd be like, yeah, and whose fault would that be? But I'd never be seen as having chosen an excusable response, who should have just been left alone and allowed my right to choose to not get in a car with someone who'd been drinking. And now, it's the same thing with my mom and my dad after his stroke. Like, sure, she could refuse to get in the car with him, but is it worth dealing with what a stink he will make about it afterwards? Like, how mad that he's going to get. It's also one of those situations where he's gonna do it anyway, so you're almost compelled to go too, like, put yourself in unwarranted risk in the off chance that you could have helped should something go wrong, or like something does go wrong, but if you're there, it might not escalate to violence if there's a confrontation. Like, there is no winning in situations or against people with mentalities like that. There is only ever bending and sacrificing to mitigate damage to your ongoing relationship, taking a hit in the short term to benefit the long term, Or, again, choosing the lesser of two evils, even though neither are what you would have chosen at all if your autonomy existed in the dynamic, but it doesn't. It's so frustrating that when someone doesn't see your choices as valid, it literally manifests through their opposition in treating it as such. Like, it genuinely takes your autonomy away if they pretend it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist to them, it doesn't exist to you. Though I have been encouraging my mother to advocate for herself, don't let him pressure you into doing anything you don't want to do or feel unsafe doing, but I know it's not that easy. So, comment below if you can relate, have any similar anecdotes to share. Like and subscribe if you're of like minded, and thank you for listening to me rant.